Which Minnesota Wild win over the last week was most impressive? Which players off to great starts can keep their projections going? Plus, a big weekend for news in the NHL. We recap that and more today on Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. And just as a reminder, Locked On Wild is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we celebrate a very victorious Monday, a Micheletti Monday with Alex Micheletti. We recap the 3 wins for the Wild over the Thanksgiving break. And we also look at some of the hot starts for the Minnesota Wild, which are sustainable, which are surprising. We'll take a look inside the numbers, plus a ton to recap from a very busy weekend throughout the NHL. Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Wild. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wilds, the veteran Minnesota sports content producer, and happy to be joined by my Monday co-host, Alex Micheletti, for a Micheletti Monday. Alex, 3 wins in a row, and I'm going to talk about, I don't want to jinx it though, I'm going to talk about a call I made after the Wednesday win against the Devils, but a great Thanksgiving week for the Minnesota Wild with 3 more wins under their belts. Not a lot to not be thankful for this Wild team. How are things going?
Good. Yeah, a resilient group, the Wild are without their captain, and so yeah, fun week of games for the Wild, and hope it can continue. And we got Ryan Hartman playing like he wants to be an Olympian, so it's fun to watch for sure.
50, potentially 50 goal scoring Ryan Hartman. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we saw a shootout win for the Wilds, in which kind of odd that just 1 goal scored in the shootout, and that happened to be for the Wild, so that was great. We saw the Winnipeg Jets completely derailed on the tarmac against the Wilds in a 7-1 loss. And we also saw the Wilds take care of business and beat the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 4-2. So of the Devils win, the Jets win, and the Lightning win, which was most impressive to you?
Beating the defending champions. Tampa, even without Kucherov points, I mean, they have Andre Vasilevsky in the NHL, and they beat him, 3 times to get the empty netter. So, I thought Tampa was the best win by far for sure.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It had a great playoff atmosphere to it. Just a sensational game by both teams, and I talked about it in the more in-depth breakdown of the Lightning game that people will hear later today. The Wild penalty kill has really been strong over this 3-game winning streak. I think they are 9 for 10 over that span. And, the power play is 0 for 10 in that span, but at the same time, the Wild have been so good in 5-on-5 that not really having a consistent power play really hasn't hurt them.
Right. Yeah, it's incredible. They're they continue to get depth scoring, and guys are moving in and out of the lineup all over the place. Nick Bukestad had been scratched a couple of times, and he gets a big goal on Andre Vasilevsky, just a beautiful goal over his shoulder. And so guys are responding. Victor Rask scored after being scratched too. Thanks to a fan shot by Kevin Fiala, it just happened to land right on Victor's stick. But when you get the puck, you have to bury, and he buried it. So good on Victor Rask. And so it's fun to see guys that haven't been scoring score, and so yeah, it's a fun team to watch. Yeah, it's so much fun.
That Bugstad goal was one of my favorite of the season because, like, as soon as he got the puck, you saw Vasilevsky get big, and Bugstad just funneled it. There we go, like right past his ear and to a
Perfect placement.
window maybe that big, and
Yeah.
he buried it. And it was that kind of a night for the Wilds. I mean, they did give up the very quick response by the Lightning, but then Victor Rask got another weird goal in front. The Wild then got the Hartman goal, as you alluded to, the MVP of this team right now, and empty netter to seal it from Marcus Foligno. So just a really fun game, and for as much as we've talked about the goaltending, Cam Talbot over these last 3 games, I think his goals against average is 1.62. And, you look at the Devils game, he was sensational in that game. Didn't really
Mhm.
have to do a lot against the Jets, but he was great again against the Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, just shutting down guys left and right, and the goals that Tampa scored, not much you can do. Especially that Corey Perry shot was just incredible. He's always done well against the Wild, so you just kind of tip your cap to the worm, as they call him. But yeah, I mean, Cam's been keeping the team in it, and he's been stopping the high danger shots, and with the way the Wild are scoring too, he doesn't have to do a whole lot. So, it's fun to see guys contribute all throughout the lineup. I mean, he had John Merrill score the other night too against Winnipeg, and Kulikov has bounced back after a tough Florida swing that he had, and so good for him on that. Especially losing a guy like Jared Spurgeon. It's been tough, but you see a guy like Alex Goligoski playing out of his mind too. He's just filling the Ryan Suter role perfectly as a calming influence as a veteran D-man back there, and he can still skate like the wind. So that if you can skate, you can continue to play this game into your late 30s like he has done, so far successfully. So yeah, it's so much fun to watch.
It's been a blast, and the one final point I will make before we move on, and we just look at how surprised we are by some of these projections that certain Wild players have so far. I don't know if I've seen maybe the Arizona game, the only example of the Wilds as they did against the Jets at home, just jumping on a team and just putting the game away immediately. Like, I was at the new James Bond movie, and so I watched it later, but in the theater, and all of a sudden I look at my phone and I've got like 30 notifications, and I look at the score and it's 5-0, and I'm like, what happened here? Like, they just I don't know if there was just some boil over from the 6-5 win, but they just they pounced on Winnipeg, and there was no doubt. Like, there was no doubt from the first period on.
Oh, it's demoralizing when you can just get that many that quick. Connor Hellebuck is such a weird goalie. He's got a lot of Darcy Kemper in him a lot too. Where if you get one or two in, then he gets in meltdown mode. And then it can lead to 5 or 6. If you don't get to him early, then he becomes very good. And the next game they played Calgary and he won 3-2. So Kyle Connor, of course, gets 2 goals for Winnipeg. Just guy's a machine. But yeah,
Unbelievable.
Hellebuck is just him, Darcy Kemper, John Gibson. If you don't get to him early, then they seem to lock in. And if you can get a couple by them, then it's then it's meltdown mode. So hopefully that doesn't happen for Hellebuck in the Olympics. If you're a Team USA fan, but or John Gibson too, because those are probably
Oh,
going to be the 1-2 combination. So well, we won't root for them with their NHL teams, but we will for the Olympics. That's
yeah,
for sure. But
when they're
yeah,
wearing those national colors,
yep,
we're hoping for the
that's
best.
right.
But if they're wearing those team colors, like, you're going to give up 5 and you're going to like it.
Yes. Yep. And yeah, going back to it too, just the 5-on-5 scoring too has just been so impressive. If special teams, you gotta cash in there, but if not, it's impressive to see that 5-on-5 because it's so hard to score goals in the NHL now with just
Right.
how big these goalies are. And like Nick Buke said, it had to be the absolute perfect placement for that goal because Vasilevsky, he's already a huge guy, and then he's got gigantic pads too. So that little sliver of opening, you got to take advantage when it's there because you don't see it too often. So yeah, it's impressive, and hopefully they can continue to keep this up and going. And if especially if the power play is going to struggle, you got to score 5-on-5.
Yeah, and as our friend Spoke Z tried to ignite as the season started, Vasilevsky might have those pads be a little too big. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother show. So all in all, a great week for the Wild. 3 wins in a row. I made a call after the Devils win that the Wild were going to go on a run. That's as much as I'm going to say. You can find it on Twitter because I didn't get rid of it, but I don't want to jinx it. But they're off to a great start. So we'll see what happens because they've got 2 winnable games this week and a big one on Saturday against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who look like world beaters again after starting off the season at a snail's pace. So going to be a tough weekend. Pretty winnable games, though, this week. So we'll see how the Wild are able to do. We are going to shift to taking a look at some of the hot starts for particular members of the Wild. If we're surprised by where they're at right now, if we think they can attain the pace that they're on. So plenty more to get to with Alex Micheletti on today's episode of Locked On Wilds after this. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Continuing today's episode of Locked On Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Seth Topol hanging out with Alex Micheletti. And Alex, the season is now 21 games in. So I'm bad at math, but that's over a quarter of the way. So we've hit the quarter pole. And we got some players that are on a pretty torrid pace scoring-wise. So I'm going to read off a couple of players and what they are projected for. And then you tell me which one is the most surprising. We will start with one, Ryan Hartman, who is, as of now, he's got 12 goals in 21 games. He's on pace for 47 goals, 16 assists, 62 points. He's also on pace to be a plus 62 on the season. So that is Ryan Hartman. Kirill Kaprizov, after a little bit of a slow scoring start, he has 23 points in 21 games. He's on pace for 90 points, 23 goals, 66 assists. He is also on pace to be a plus 20. Kevin Fiala, despite just 3 goals on the season, has 15 points in 21 games. He's on pace for 59, 12 goals, and 47 assists. You also have the likes of Marcus Foligno, who's on pace for 31 goals and 23 assists. Then you have Joel Eriksson, who is on pace for 31 goals and 16 assists himself, 47 points in 82 games. Which of those projections surprises you the most, or who is off to the best start and the most surprising start of those guys so far?
Yeah, I mean it's it's really close for me between Ryan Hartman and Marcus Foligno. Both of those guys are more known as grinders, and they're contributing to the offensive play. So it's extremely impressive. And a guy like Ryan Hartman, if he sticks in between, Matt Zuccarello and Kirill Kaprizov, that's, those projections are going to get really close for him because just of the amount of skill that Kirill and Zuccarello have, and they're brilliant passers and can feed Hartman for those high danger offensive chances for him to bury. So yeah, it's incredible. We can't forget he was a first round draft pick. So Chicago believed in him, and now he's starting to score a little on that pace as a first round draft pick should. And Marcus Foligno too. He's been known for more of his physical game, and he's really ramped up his offensive skills for the Wild, and starting to get power play time. So kudos for him. And he's worked really hard, and is a great player, great locker room guy. And so a guy, it's like a Phil Kessel. It's a guy you'd always would want to have on your team, no matter what. And so Marcus brings so much to the team. And so yeah, it's fun to see him start to score a little bit here too. So those would be the two most surprising for me.
I am just looking to go a little bit further in on Ryan Hartman. He did say coming into the season that he was going to shoot more, and that was welcome because this team, we want them to be kind of an offense oriented team that has a bunch of different guys that can beat you, because in the long run, that's going to better serve this team than one or two guys the teams can key in on and stop, as we saw in the Vegas Golden Knights playoff series. Shut Kirill down, shut Kevin Fiala down, shut the team down. Hartman, so let's just throw this out there. Hartman last season in 51 games, he had 74 shots. In 20, well, according to hockeyreference.com, this was not taking into effect the Lightning win. In 20 games, Hartman had 67 shots, and his shot percentage last year was at 9.5. His shot percentage this year is at 16.4. So obviously, shooting more, scoring more, and yeah, he's probably not going to shoot at that percentage for the rest of the way. He's probably not going to score 47 goals. But he's got 12 through 21 games. Who's to say he can't get to 25 or 30 goals this year?
I mean, he's been playing on every line. So just imagine if he was on the first line from the start. I mean, that production would probably be even higher. And so, yeah, kudos to him for working hard, and he's getting power play time too. So that's going to help with those numbers. And like you said, he might not get to that, but it's impressive. And not only has he played wing, but he's played center too. And so that leads to different responsibilities too. Especially as a center, you gotta be really responsible defensively too. And so yeah, with the way he's scoring too, it's impressive with having to do duties, and especially the two guys on his line aren't really known for their defensive game, and so he really has to do a lot of work. And as a first line center too, you're getting the top guys in the league at that position. Your Anze Kopitars, your Jonathan Taves, you name it. It's a battle day in and day out, and so yeah, it's what more can you say about the guy? It's and he's making 1.7 million.
Unreal.
So I mean, for the little amount that he's getting paid in the production, it's incredible. And kudos to Billy G for getting him to agree to that type of deal. And so it's huge for the Wild, especially with how crunched they are with the cap. And so they need guys with that cap hit to be producing, and he's clearly doing it. And it's leading to to other guys that with low cap numbers producing too. Nico Sturm and Brandon Duhaime, and so yeah, fun to see.
Matt Dumba.
Matt Dumba.
I'm planning to at some point in the future have a full episode dedicated to Matt Dumba to try to dispel some of the angst that he causes many Wild fans, especially on social media. But you look at Dumba; he's on pace for 12 goals this year, and so it seems like he's starting to get some of that offensive swagger back. Up and down the lineup, people are on pace for career seasons. And so, final one before we move on to some of the national NHL news. We talked about Foligno and Eriksson both being on pace for 30 goal seasons. And that would be, at least in Eriksson case, that would be his first career 30 goal season. I'm pulling up quickly to see if Marcus Foligno has a 30 goal season, and I don't believe he does. Nope, his career high is 13 goals. So obviously, both guys on pace for their first career 30 goal seasons. Who do you think is the best chance to get to that mark?
I would say Eck, just because of where he is on the power play too. He's going to get fed a lot of chances, and he's just like Zach Parise. He gets all of his goals like from a couple feet out. He's got the best chance. I never saw it ever coming. With the way he started out with his career, and so it looks like the pandemic year last year really changed it, and it's great to see because there was always that debate between him and Brock Besser. They'll forever will be linked, just like a Sid in Ovi. And especially with Brock being from here. So yeah, it's nice to see Eck blossom out and show off a little skill because he does have a really offensive game to him too, and he's probably the Wild's best two-way forward, and so he got paid and now he's getting the minutes like he got paid, so I think he's got the best chance out of the two to get to that 30 goal mark, which is the gold standard now in the NHL.
Yeah, I agree fully. One note before we move on. My bold prediction before the season that Nico Sturm would get to 20 goals. He's on pace for 16. Needs to pick it up a little bit, but still, very good start to the season for Nico. So hopefully he can pick it up a little bit. But we've got a lot of NHL news to discuss as well here today. So we'll round today's episode out by talking about some of the big NHL headlines going on over the weekend. More to come here on today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. It's here, the best Monday of the year. That, of course, is Cyber Monday. And Built.com is the place to aim your mouse. You can get at least 20% off everything delicious and healthy. That is 20% off site-wide. There are even bigger discounts on Built Boost, Broth, and Built Swag. A brand new Built Bar flavor has landed just in time for Cyber Monday. Caramel Almond Delight, and it delivers everything it promises. Caramelized chocolate, check. Almonds, check. Delightful, double check. Be sure to get yours before they're gone. Each bar is 150 calories and contains 17 grams of protein. And this season, maybe you're craving white chocolate. For a limited time, get a special new Built Bar Puffs flavor, white chocolate cheesecake. The yummy protein treat filled with marshmallowy center covered in white chocolate. That bar contains 140 calories and only 17 grams of protein. 'Tis the season to save and to give your taste buds the gift of Built Bar. So head to Built.com for these incredible tasting new bars and 20% off everything. Head to Built.com, enter code LOCKED20 before it's too late. The holiday season is here, and we know what that means. Football. And nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. BetOnline.ag has you covered all holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline.ag remains your number one spot for all the sports action this holiday season. So head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with the promo code LOCKEDON. It's not just football either. BetOnline.ag has pro and college hoops, the NHL, boxing, UFC, and even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, they are stuffed with deals this holiday season. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Seth Topol joined by Alex Micheletti. And Alex, some big things happened in the NHL over the Thanksgiving long weekend. It started, of course, with, well, where we'll start. Evander Kane being put on waivers by the San Jose Sharks. So at this point, teams have a chance to claim him once he clears, or they have a chance to claim him before that, however that process works. Main point, he's not getting claimed, is he?
No, no way. The Sharks, his teammates wanted nothing to do with them. Tomas Hertl was public saying that he wanted nothing to do with the guy. The Sharks are willing to eat a lot of his contract just to get rid of him. So that says a lot. There was rumors today that his agent had reached out to the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think that team needs with the PR nightmare they've been dealing with. I don't think they need an Evander Kane. If they make that move, good luck to them. He's a talented player, but he's not worth the headache. He had last year was probably the best year of his career, and he just caused so much off ice drama, and try explaining that to to your fan base. Everything's out in the air with Vander Kane, and so he's not worth with the troubles, even if he's really a really good offensive skilled player, and San Jose could really use him. But if your teammates don't want you, it's not worth even having him be around the team, and so.
No.
We'll see if they're able to move him. Their GM took a medical leave of absence to Doug Wilson, so a lot going around with the Sharks, and so I don't even know if they'll be able to make a trade here without their acting. They're gonna, without their, the GM that should be making the decision on that, and so they might stick him with their AHL team, which is also in San Jose, the Barracuda. So we'll see if those guys want him.
Yikes.
Yeah.
There are two teams in Canada that are not having a good time. One of which is the Vancouver Canucks, who the Wild saw once, and now they are dangerously close. They, correct me if I'm wrong on this sequence of events, but they basically had their owner assess everything, and at this point was like, we need to just be calm, kind of ride this through, not make any big changes, and they have basically been in free fall since.
They have to make a move here at some point. They had a lead on Boston tonight and gave it up. They have one of the worst penalty kills in the NHL, and so they gave Boston a couple of power plays, and bada bing, they Boston has one of the best power plays, and Brad Marchand, Patrick Bergeron, David Pastrnak, they took advantage and won. And so if you can believe this, they actually play Montreal tomorrow, so they're on a back-to-back. So that could be the toilet bowl tomorrow night of just chaos of the Canadian teams. The Canadians fired Mark Bergevin, so you kind of saw the writing on the wall after Scott Mellenby quit yesterday. So that game tomorrow night should be interesting for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah, you mentioned Montreal cleaning house. Paul Wilson, Trevor Timmins, and Mark Bergevin are out. It sounds as though former New York Rangers general manager Jeff Gorton has been hired to serve as executive vice president of hockey operations. Montreal has been very bad this year, and so they have done what Vancouver needs to do, but there's a lot of work to still be done with that Montreal team. I mean, Cole Caulfield has been up and down. They've got some young pieces, but they got to do some cleaning up before they can get themselves back to where they need to go.
Yeah, it's too bad. Once the writing was kind of on the wall with once Carey Price took that leave of absence, and who knows if they're ever going to get him back this season, and kind of relying on Jake Allen to keep things together. And at this point in his career, I don't think he can be the sustained number one for this long. And he ran into some injury issues too, and so yeah, they're just kind of mishandling some of their prospects incorrectly, and they didn't want Kotkaniemi, so he goes to Carolina and signs that offer sheet, and so that was a mess. And Cole Caulfield, yeah, yeah, I mean, you can't send the guy down. You have to let him play through things, and then they call him back up. So it's like, what was the deal there? Um, you know, uh, Ryan Paling, as St. Cloud State and Minnesota hockey fans know well. They got to give him more of an opportunity. He's finally seen some time, which is great to see. But some of their veterans aren't producing. Where's Brendan Gallagher been? Jeff Petrie, I think he has 2 assists on the year, and he's the guy they're kind of relying on the back end without Shea Weber. That's another name that they missed, and
Oof.
it seems like they put all their eggs in the basket for that Stanley Cup run, and now it's crashing and burning. So you can see how quick it can go. The Dallas Stars, they had their run in the bubble, and last year it was a mess, and this year, it's been a mess. They can't figure out, they're going through multiple different goalies, and so it's that's another team where
Gee.
it's like if you put all your eggs in the basket, injuries can really start to hit you, and guys that were productive in the past, age is really taking the number on them, and so that's why the Wild have to take advantage while they can, and because it can hit you real fast, and you can be in rebuild mode very quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for things to go south in a hurry. Final question here. Bigger disaster, the Montreal Canadiens or the New Jersey Devils alternate jerseys?
I mean, what are the Devils doing here with that jersey? It was a bad week of jersey reveals. I
Oh,
mean, you had Team USA with all that blue. Like, what's going on? Just keep it simple with with that USA one that they had a few years back. It seems like teams are trying to do too much. In New Jersey, they had the classic Devil logo. Why not include that on there? And why are you asking Martin Brodeur to do the jersey design? I'm all for them kind of making fun of themselves with the social campaign they're doing with the hat. But yeah, just to have jersey on there, that just a weird look, and hopefully they don't wear those too often. Yeah, they should have called up the Milwaukee Admirals, who had an amazing jersey reveal with the actual Admiral on there. That was really cool. That was the best one of the week for sure.
yeah, just do something other
Yeah,
than whatever it was that they did. But
yeah.
yeah, it's thankfully here in the state of hockey, we don't have as many disasters as are going on throughout the rest of the NHL. We just keep winning games, and so
Mhm.
we'll continue to do that, and that will finish up today's episode of Locked On Wild. So now that your first listen of the day is done, make sure to head over to Locked On Bets to get the lowdown on everything related to your favorite fantasy sports. Locked On Bets is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Just like Locked On Wild, we are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Also on social media, make sure to follow us at Locked On Wild on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, keeping you as up to date as possible on your favorite Minnesota hockey team. If a puck drops in the state of hockey, Locked On Wild has you covered with new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.